Hello everyone! The Guardians have been around for quite some time, and even though Medivh's novel was called The Last Guardian, there's still one on Azeroth, even though we never hear about him. But who are the Guardians, and why do we need them? That's what we're going to find out. I want to cover most of the information that we know, so it will probably take a couple of videos, but let's just begin and see how far we can go, shall we? To understand the Guardians, we'll first have to go back and look at how the first humans became mages. Way back when, around 10,000 years ago, the Night Elves and the Highborn had the Well of Eternity, from which they drew their magical powers. They did this without caring about the consequences, and it drew the attention of the Burning Legion. Sargeras himself showed up, and Queen Azora wanted to summon him into our world so that Sargeras could destroy everything and reshape the world into perfection. She then envisioned ruling the world together with Sargeras, but things didn't go exactly as planned. Several races, and even the demigods and the dragon aspects, they teamed up to fight the Burning Legion, and in the end they managed to destroy the portal. This also caused the Well of Eternity to implode and the land of Kalimdor to split apart.
Illidan! The well is out of control!
Aye, it's been twisted and turned by too many spells. The fuss we, especially you, made with the portal was too much. The same spell that sent the Burning Legion back into their foul realm now works on the well. It's devouring itself and taking its surroundings with it. Fascinating, isn't it?
Not if we're caught up in it. Why weren't you running? What have you been doing with your hand in the well?
Illidan Stormrage was not a Highborn, but he did use magic, and before the well imploded he scooped up some water and put it in several vials. He then used this water on top of Mount Hyjal to create a second Well of Eternity. The Night Elves, they just lost everything because of reckless use of magic, and now another well was created. They first wanted to execute Illidan on the spot, but his brother Malfurion pleaded for him, and instead they imprisoned him for life. Several Highborn did not agree with Queen Azora's choices, and they joined the resistance before she was defeated. The Night Elves, they accepted the Highborn, but as you can imagine, they didn't want another War of the Ancients or a Sundering, so using arcane magic became a crime punishable by death. Davramar's Sunstrider was the one who led the Highborn away from Azora, and he wasn't happy about this. Magic was their birthright, they had been studying it for millennia, and they weren't about to give it up. The Night Elves, they just couldn't execute all of them, so they banished them instead, and the Highborn moved away from the Night Elves, across the sea, past the newly formed Maelstrom, all the way to the Eastern Kingdoms. They didn't leave empty-handed. Before they set sail, they made sure to take one of Illidan's vials full of water from the original Well of Eternity. It was around this time that they started to call themselves High Elves, and they first moved to the Tirisfal Glades. But after a few years, many of them were driven insane. They believed that something evil was under the glades, we're not sure what, but they believed something evil, so they picked up their things and continued their journey. Along the way, they encountered the first primitive humans, but they didn't really interact with each other, while they also met the forest trolls of the Amani Empire, and they didn't get along with each other. The High Elves would soon start to hate the trolls, and the trolls didn't like them either. Eventually they found a place that was perfect for them, and they built their kingdom of Quel'Thalas. Unfortunately, they built this kingdom right on top a sacred and ancient city of the trolls, and this just fused the hatred between trolls and high elves even further. They became enemies, the trolls started to attack their city, and the high elves managed to defend it with the use of magic. By using the vial full of water from the Well of Eternity, they created their own well, and they called it the Sunwell. For thousands of years they lived in their city, practiced their magic, but they were careful about not attracting the attention of the Burning Legion. In the meantime, the humans started to band together. The trolls were also a problem for them, and it was Foradin of the Arafi who came up with a plan to unite all the different human clans. They did this by defeating the other clans and then offering them peace and equality. So what they did pretty much was kick the crap out of other clans and then just offered them a safe haven. They eventually built their capital city called Strom and founded their first human kingdoms called Arafor. The Amani Empire was huge, the biggest empire on the Eastern Kingdoms at the time, and the High Elves, they were losing their war. Something had to be done, so they sent one of their people to talk to the humans and see if they could form an alliance. Thoradin was wise and he saw that letting the Elven Kingdom fall could mean their own defeat, so they agreed to team up. In exchange for the humans' troops, the High Elves would teach 100 humans the way of magic. The elves found that although humans were initially clumsy in their handling of magic, they possessed a startling natural affinity for it. 100 men were taught the very basics of the elves' magical secrets, no more than was absolutely necessary to combat the trolls. High Elves and humans clashed with the trolls, and the trolls would eventually lose this war and never truly recover from their defeat.
The Amani never give up. We never forget. We never die.
So at this point, humans could wield magic now, but the Magi felt like the laws of Strom were holding them back, so they split themselves away from the kingdom and they built their own city, namely Dalaran. A city where they would be free to study, practice and use their magic as they pleased. More and more Magi moved to Dalaran, and soon enough those who couldn't wield magic but did provide food or drinks or other services, they too moved to Dalaran. All was good for a time until they learned the dangers of magic used unchecked, the lesson the High Elves learned so many years ago. The constant and ungoverned use of magic began to tear the fabric of reality around the city. These tears sent bright beacons out into the twisting nether, drawing the attention of the Burning Legion. Through these rents, demons began to slip back into Azeroth, and the Magi consulted the High Elves about this problem. The High Elves told them that as long as they used magic, they would need to protect their people from the agents of the Burning Legion. The people couldn't find out about this, or else they would riot in fear, so they decided to create a secret order known as the Council of Tirisfal, named after the location where they would meet, the Tirisfal Glades. The order began to experiment as to how to best protect themselves from the demons. Some believed that they should work together as a team of equals, while others believed they should funnel their magic into a single being and let him or her be the shield, although they didn't exactly know how to do that. This finally brings us to how the first Guardian came to be. This story is set 260 years before the first war between orcs and humans. The Council of Tirisfal is formed and Irten Brighthand was their spearhead. He was the one that the other council members would link with, offer their powers and allow him to battle the demons. The problem with this method was that if one would fall or weaken, it would affect all of them, so the weakest chain could make them all fall. In the story, a Dreadlord has found his way into Dalaran and they come up with a plan to lure him into a trap using the Amulet of Water. The plan works perfectly, except that this is no ordinary Dreadlord. This is Kafrenatir, a Dreadlord killed during the War of the Ancients by Malfurion Stormrage himself. The council tries to banish the demon, linking their power with Ertin, but it isn't enough. Kafrenatir manages to land a strike against the undead mage Merrill, who was so focused on lending his powers that he couldn't defend himself. With Merrill down, the others are weakened, and Kafra was about to kill them all. A young student of Dalaran, Alodi, sees all of this going on, sees how they're all connected and linking their powers into one. His friends, Prince Nalorav and his fiancée Idre, can't even see this, but he does, and he steps in to protect all of them. Desperately, he wants to protect as well as attack, and Ertin offers his powers to Alodi. This allows Alodi to create a shield strong enough to deflect Kafra's attacks, and as soon as the demon touches his shield, it creates a huge explosion. All of them might have died that day from the uncontrolled powers, but Ertin used his last of his strength to absorb most of the impact and save them all. The next day, Alodi wakes up and Master Merrill tells him what happened. Merrill used to be a human, but he died during the Troll Wars. People still needed him, so he used his own magic to resurrect himself and keep himself alive. The demon was defeated for now, but definitely not vanquished, and he got his hands on the Amulet of Water, and with it he could corrupt Lordamer Lake. The council came together within Tirisfal Glades to discuss what to do next. In this, a female gnome told them that they had to select a new spearhead, but this wasn't so simple. Ertin possessed unique qualities, the skill to wield their linked power, the desire to defend, while also the wisdom to never turn against them. Afilar, a high elf female, suggested that they should just stop with trying to use this spearhead. They weakened themselves and all their spearheads so far had died. She saw it as a failing plan. Medivh said that they already had found their new spearhead. Elodie had managed to wield their power purely by instinct, with a desire to protect all of them and the heart of a warrior longing to use it as a weapon. He suggested that Elodie was their guy, but the other members did not agree. They saw him as a high elf orphan, surely gifted, but also lazy and unexperienced. Despite that, Merrill took the boy under his wing, knowing that if he gave him a reason to excel, he definitely would. The boy studied hard and together with Merrill they worked on an improvement of the spell that they used to link with each other. This spell would allow them to link, but over a much greater distance. That way the source of power could stay in a protective place while the spearhead would fight and protect. All this studying took up nearly all of Elodie's time and his fiancée was not happy about this. Elodie's needs and wishes had changed while hers had not, and they were slowly growing apart. Several weeks later, the Dreadlord was spotted in Silverpine and the council tried to stop him by using their magic individually. This failed horribly, they couldn't even penetrate his magical wards, while the demon summoned a great swarm of locusts and tried to burn the council. Most of them survived, but one of them had a great fear of bugs, Afilar, which caused her to freeze up and she was unable to protect herself. Again, Merrill told them that they needed their champion, and this time, seeing how Elodie has been working so hard, the council agreed. Elodie was invited to their secret meeting within the Tearsfall Glades, where the council explains who they were and what they were offering him. Becoming the spearhead wasn't something you just did, it would change you and your destiny forever. So Elodie couldn't immediately decide. He wanted some time to think, and in that time he talked to his fiancée. She just received news that her father passed away. Her mother was ill, the land was beset by swarming insects and vermins, while the wells had run dry. All of this was the work of the Dreadlord, and Elodie realized that he could save them all. He could protect the one he loved most, but in exchange he would have to let her go. Which he would, of course. That night the council got together and Elodie told them his decision, but instead of directly linking to each other and only giving a portion of their power, he wanted them to offer all their power for the duration of the fight. They would use the spell that he and Merrill had been working on, the one that would allow them to link from a great distance so they wouldn't have to worry about protecting themselves. To reflect this change, he would no longer be called their spearhead, instead he would become their guardian. Guardian of their power, their safety and their trust. Guardian of the defense of Azeroth. Merrill, Yuga, Indus, Rohar and Irar offered their powers willingly. Power we have, power we share, out of many into one. Elodie made his way to Brightwater Lake, where Kafra was last seen. He knew that the Dreadlord was not just trying to corrupt the lake or spread a plague. He had a larger plan. The plan to put High Elf, Human and Gnome against each other, so to cause wars which demons find so entertaining. Kafra was not impressed by the mage, they tried to contain him before, banish him, and they had failed. What difference would this one mage make? What he didn't know was that Elodie didn't come alone, and he used Indus's spell of bright vision to spot Kafra's aura of darkness. He used Yuga her spell to entrap Kafra within a magical ward. He asked Irar to lend him his strength so he could keep the ward active. He asked Merrill to share his courage so he could either face down this monster or accept his own death bravely. Then he asked all of them to combine their power and unleash every searing spell that they possessed so that they could banish this demon. This demon that had cost them so much, land destroyed, people killed, and Elodie's life as he knew it gone. This demon had turned him into a demon's nightmare, and at the end of their struggle, Elodie banished Kafra back to the twisting nether. His fiancée lived near the lake, saw everything that happened and realized that Elodie had saved her, had saved all of them. Their duties were no longer the same, where she would have to stay behind and take care of her family and their land. Elodie was destined to take care of the world. Once more, Elodie tapped into the power of the council. Rohar, lend me your wisdom that I may do what is right. And with that, Elodie flew away from the love of his life and the life that he had known. He wanted to return his power to the rest of the council until the next battle, but they decided that he should keep it. When his time came, he would pass it on to the next guardian, who would take his place as defender of the world, with the council backing him up. This went on for centuries, where the guardian and the council worked in harmony. Until the day came that a female took up the mantle of Guardian and decided that things should change. That the Guardian should be proactive instead of reactive, and that the Guardian didn't exactly need the council. However, that's a story for next week. For now, I hope you enjoyed the story of the first Guardian. Subscribe if you like my videos, and until next time guys, see ya!